Welcome to the Off Tackle with John Fina Show on the Overreaction Sports Network.
Welcome in.
Jerry, take it away, buddy.
Hey, man, I'm over here daydreaming, dude. I'm sorry. I apologize, but let me do the job that I was asked to do.
Daydreaming Victory Monday, buddy? How dare you?
I know, dude. I know. But, hey, this is the Off Tackle with John Fina Show, the Sahlen's Off Tackle with John Fina Show. I'm the big O, Jerry Ostrowski. He is John Fina. I'm not as smooth as Joe Miller. I apologize. I'm not a professional. I have never been hired in my life to be a voiceover or a voice actor or a professional voice like Joe has. So you'll have to bear with me. But we're excited. Obviously, we're coming today on a Monday after a big Bills victory versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Bills win 39-34. Of course, as John's wearing the shirt, it is Victory Monday. We're happy to be here, John. You know, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. And just look forward to a great show.
Oh, man, me too, Jerry. And let's be fair. Come on, you are a professional. The amount of radio, TV, podcasting you've done now, you can't pretend like you aren't a pro. And happy Victory Monday to you and all of Bills Mafia. Thanks for joining us today. Jerry and I are here to just kind of unpack whatever comes up. We're going to have a conversation, and we hope you enjoy it. Again, the Bills come away victorious, visiting Cincinnati Bengals early on. I was having a little PTSD about that playoff game a couple of years ago, which I attended in person, and it looked that way a little bit at the beginning. The Bills sorted things out, came up with some great big plays on defense, and hell, put a stack of W in the column. Now 9-4. I for one, Jerry, I don't have this great feeling of calm, of satisfaction. I'm celebrating the victory, but there are still a few things that concern me about this team on both sides of the ball. Would do you share those concerns?
Well, I mean, obviously, defensively, it is what it is. You're going to roll out every week with a group of it's like the year without a Santa Claus over there. It's like a land of misfit toys, right? I mean, you don't have your preferred starters at most positions on the field, and then the guys that are playing, a lot of them are banged up and, getting a little bit older. Season's long. You get a little bit weary. So you've got the issues you have against, on the defensive side. Offensively, we're missing Spencer Brown, obviously. I mean, Spencer's a huge part of this offensive line, playing at a high rate before he got hurt. We've had Dion out of the lineup. Now he's back in the lineup, still trying to get his feet under him, trying to get back to that all-pro level Dion that we all know and love. So we've had a little bit of struggles there. And obviously, I don't even want to go into the whole wide receiver thing, but obviously this past week, the tight end room was really, really strong. Josh was doing Josh things, and they're able to get this victory against a really, even though their record is not good, a very good offensive football team in the Cincinnati Bengals.
Jerry, it really piques my interest that when I talk about I'm not settled, I don't feel totally comfortable, the first thing you do is go to the line of scrimmage, the trenches, as is referred to. And you read my mind. And my concern is some of the inconsistencies on the offensive line, although we do score and we're putting points up, and then the inconsistencies, the rotating, the carousel of players. We're not quite at the polka dot elephant or the Charlie in the box, and thank you for the land of the misfit toys reference. But my concern is how do we go deep? How do we get into, a fist fight like we had in Houston and pull ourselves out of it when, our trench play is somewhat inconsistent?
Well, I think the biggest thing when you get in situations, and you know this, John, you and I have been in them, when you get in those downhill situations where the snowball's rolling downhill and you can't stop it, it doesn't matter what you do. We're very familiar with instances like that throughout our careers. But I think the biggest thing is Joe Brady has to figure out a way to give guys help when they need help. And whether, we've talked ad nauseum about chipping and helping with backs and tight ends, and that's all part of it. But, when you get in these situations, you've got to swallow your pride a little bit and understand that sometimes you don't have the perfect play drawn up. You've got to go ahead and give guys help. You got to give guys, a little bit extra before they go out in routes and things like that. And, we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously that Houston group is a special group. They gave the Kansas City Chiefs fits last night. Now Chiefs also were in a situation they had, multiple linemen down, and that's not good when you play a team like Houston, obviously. But yeah, I mean, at some point in time, you've got to, you've got to give help. You got to go ahead and maybe change some things in your philosophy to understand that this is just how it's going to be. And, we'll see what happens. There's a chance we play Houston again in the playoffs. I mean, they're surging. They might win that AFC South, especially with Daniel Jones out. And, there's going to come a time where that situation will arise again, and we'll see how we respond.
Yeah, Jerry, they have been listening to us. Going back and just rewatching the first couple of quarters last night, we were in a lot of play action. We gave Josh the opportunity to get a little deeper protection by having those guys bunched up, by moving around, pulling some guards in the play action. So they have been listening to you. They've been listening to me, and we appreciate that. Thank you, McDermott, Joe Brady, for paying attention to the Sahlen's Off Tackle Show with me, John Fina, joined by Jerry Ostrowski. And if you go to Sahlen.com, Jerry, the first thing you see up on that website is welcome to the smokehouse. I just love that, right? The smokehouse. You can go to Sahlen.com. You can order up your hot dogs, your deli meats. If there isn't a Sahlen's in your area at your local grocer, I'd be a little bit surprised because they're all over the place. But if they're not, go ahead and order at Sahlen.com. Get your favorite product from Sahlen's. Throw those dogs either in the pan if it's too cold, or go outside and grill even though it's cold. Soup them up any way you want with kraut, ketchup and mustard, Chicago style, chili dog. For the best in hot dogs, go to Sahlen.com, or just freaking go to the supermarket. Pick them up, cook them up. Great hot dogs from Sahlen. Thank you, Sahlen, for sponsoring the Off Tackle Show with me, John Fina. Jerry, so they heard us, right? They heard us on the offense about giving the tackles a little bit more help. In this case, it was Van DeMark and Deion Dawkins. But defensively, too, and this is going to take me into my first clip, I think we need to, with the rotational issues at specifically defensive line with injuries, we have to come up with some creative ways to try to start putting a pressure package on that isn't just always a guy off the edge. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I think you'll see that in third down. I mean, you see it's a struggle because you've got a team that's had some issues stopping the run. So you want to be sound as far as the running game goes, and they have done that over the last few weeks. I don't think it's a coincidence that since Shaq Thompson's been inserted into the lineup that thing has been a lot better up the middle. But still, they've got work to do. But when you look at that, you can't move guys all over the place. You're trying to stop the run. So they've done some things third down wise with the personnel they have. I mean, they played Fox this week to try to get him involved. Not much there. Didn't expect much there to begin with. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, John, where it's a fine line when you do it. And the Bills have tried. And, Sean McDermott in his press conference again today talked about the significance of getting pressure with four guys and just taking pressure off your secondary that way. And, I just don't know with this group of people, they can do that consistently with four. So you're going to have to do some things creatively to get some pressure.
Yep. And to Jerry's point, I'm going to bring up a play here. A little bit of a wrinkle from the Buffalo Bills defense. Instead of coming out in a traditional four-man pressure package, we went ahead and went to a 3-2 look. Jerry, if you can see that okay.
Yep.
And this is it's hard to see. It gets a little bit granular here. But a lot of people want to come after the offensive line in the Houston game, and for good reason. But in some instances, credit has to be given to the Texans and their design of pressure. So this is a look you don't normally see from the Buffalo Bills. This is a 3-2 look. We've got Rousseau way too far, in my opinion, outside the right tackle. We got Epinesa outside the left tackle. And if my memory serves, Daquan Jones head up on center with a couple of linebackers. And we're going to run a game over here on our right, offensive left side. Jerry, if I'm just going to roll it for you here and just take our listeners through what the reasoning is. What are we trying to do here? And is it a new look that we're hoping can confuse the offensive line? And I'll pause it right there.
So basically what they're going to try to do is they're going to try to create picks, and they're going to try to hold up linemen to get Shaq Thompson free looping off the edge. So you've got Daquan Jones slanting across the center's face. You've got Epinesa that's also slanting outside, and then you got Daquan looping inside. So you've got a three-man game, and you're trying to get that looper free to get pressure up the middle. The center does a really good job of keeping his head out of this block, keeping his hands involved so he can push off and pick up Shaq Thompson. It's something they were expecting to see. Obviously, they worked on it. But center comes off, and then everybody else doesn't get really any pressure. The problem is like Daquan, he really needs to occupy a bunch of that center and almost maybe cheat a little bit with his left hand and grab that center's jersey just enough to hold him up so that Shaq can come free. But in this instance, he doesn't get that jersey grabbed. That center's able to switch that off real quick and pick up Shaq.
Yeah, I like the creativity, Jerry. And I think a lot of people might look at this and not have sort of the historical understanding of practice and, implementation, installation that players and teams go through. It's good to see this type of creativity, something we don't traditionally see in this sort of game. And I love what you talked about. And anybody out there, go to the film, look at the center, because he really does a good job keeping separation from Daquan. Daquan has to do a better job occupying. But my overall point is, Jerry, you don't just take out the Sharpie and some loose leaf paper and start drawing stuff up and expect to insert it, implement it as if they've been doing it since, the first day of training camp, right?
Right. I mean, this is something they've been working on. We've been at practice and seen practice on film from different outlets to where they're working on games. And one thing here in this instance, you got two areas you could get pressure. One is with the looper, and then also Daquan does a very good job of knocking that guard off balance. The problem is with the snow or whatever it is, he can't bring his feet with him, and he doesn't get a running start at Burrow and falls down and gets down into his knees. I'm surprised this wasn't called a penalty, to be honest with you. But they did have a chance here to get some pressure. They did have a little bit of trash at Burrow's feet. But then the second half of this has to come to fruition as well, which is the coverage. And this is where when McDermott talks all the time about rush and coverage meshing up, this is where it doesn't mesh up and you get a catch across the middle.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jerry. And you know what? I thought about that too. This could have been a low hit on the quarterback, but you could actually just, breathe bad breath on a quarterback and get a penalty nowadays. And I'm going to stick with this clip for just a second and just my personal grievance. I think that, especially in these conditions, I think Rousseau is too wide. He's 5-6 steps into this rush before he even engages the tackle, which doesn't even give you time to compress as receivers start to, break through our coverage. So I'd just love to see Rousseau just get a little bit tighter, engage the tackle quicker. And if you're a compression guy, get into his chest, drive him back, make the quarterback feel a little bit of nervous. But right now, it's just it's too far away for me.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's these games, there's a specific timing that really has to take place for them to work. And not much timing here. And I think the biggest thing here to me is Daquan's lack of occupying that center to where he just can get off cleanly. And then obviously on the other side, you've got a defensive end here that I believe after initial contact drops and then they loop Williams outside, I think. So
and Dorian spies and takes the running back out of the backfield.
Yeah,
but
there you go.
My bigger concern is that Rousseau is just too wide to have any effect on this play as the ball comes out with timing. This is a cool play, and I'm pretty sure you probably had a chance to look at it today. This is the Ty Johnson run where he tripped over a snowball. God love the guy. But I just want you to, I'll run it. And as I run it, you can kind of think about your comments, traditionally we see Gilliam in the backfield. Last week, we saw a little bit more of two running backs in the backfield to give us a little bit more variation. And obviously, we're run first right now with James Cook running all over the place. I think teams are trying to game up the backside or the stack side of our offense where two tight ends and a receiver are blocking. So we added this little wrinkle where we're faking left and we're handing the ball off underneath and inside to Ty Johnson. So
yeah, if you remember,
tell me a little bit about why you think this is a cool idea or what the philosophy or the strategy is here.
Well, a little bit. This play was used on short yardage last week in Pittsburgh, where Ty Johnson picked up, I believe, it was a 4th down on this quick underneath handoff. And basically, what you're getting is in this look by the Bills, and when you have an up back like this, and he comes across the formation, and you have Cook go wide to the left, it almost gives the linebackers what would be considered a split zone look. So it's almost like Ty Johnson going back to block the end man on the line of scrimmage, and then they're going to run that pitch or handoff with James Cook to the left. And the way that Josh opens up, it also gives that illusion that you're going to get Cook to on a handoff to the left. But they hand it off underneath. And what it does is with these crossing running backs and everything else and all this different motion, it freezes the linebackers. It doesn't really give them a strong key of what they're looking at, and it can slow them down. And you have that instance here with this play yesterday against the Bengals.
Yeah, and I think adding to what you're talking about, and something you and I talked about in training camp when we were on the field, was the type of, I guess, area drive for the offensive line. Instead of saying, I'm going to take this guy, this part of him, and you're going to catch up, it's almost like a little bit like running to a spot and creating these creases and seams in the defense. And then part 2 of that is if you're giving the ball to Cook at 8 yards, there's a delay where defenses can react. But initially, they're not expecting Ty Johnson 4 yards off the ball to be able to hit one of those little creases as they just begin to open up. Usually it's Reggie Gilliam, and Reggie's unbelievable at what he does. He's really great at blocking, but handing the ball off to another running back underneath really gives you a chance to expose those types of creases that develop real quick. Exactly.
And it's just another way to cause confusion. And I thought the offensive line did a good job here. I thought Torrance now has had 2 really solid games in a row. He played really well against Pittsburgh.
Good point.
He played well yesterday as well. So I think that he's coming along, and which is needed at a time where we got guys out and we have injuries and stuff. But yeah, I mean, once again, just Bills O-line covering people up, good double team on the front side, and they're able to have a successful play.
Yeah, and to your point, covering guys up, if you're watching this, one thing that Jerry and I look for in a play like this, I can read almost every number on every Bills jersey on this play, and that's always a good thing. And why people are like, well, why is that a good thing? In the event that you hit the line of scrimmage going full speed as a running back, and you can look at your offensive lineman's jersey numbers, if a guy that's locked up with, say, Torrance wants to reach out and stop Ty Johnson or James Cook, he's going to do it falling backward and with one arm. And generally speaking, that running back, and Thurman made a career out of it, will just keep churning his legs, and that what might be a 1 yard gain, because you got him covered up, turns into a 3, 4, or 5 yard gain.
Right.
Which good stuff. Thanks, Jerry. And this one, I scratched my head. This is our first touchdown drive. We get up to the line of scrimmage, and the idea here is to run Josh on a power. We do have a gaff at the left guard spot, but my concern here is why we're running this play into the teeth of the defense. It looks like we just don't really have the math here to run this play, unless you're relying on Ty Johnson being, your lead blocker on what kind of looks like kick out power from the backfield. And I'm going to run. Let me just run it for you and tell me what you think. There's a lot of traffic over there. We're running Josh right into it. Give it another go. And what strikes me about this, Jerry, is at the line of scrimmage, I want to say, why not change the play? Why not Riverside this and run weak zone?
Yeah, you could run weak zone with Ty Johnson coming across. He's in the position to take that handoff, and I think maybe that's what they were hoping for, is that the Bengals would read zone weak and actually hold up that side. But what they actually do is they slant across to the back, and by slanting across to the back, it's almost like they kind of knew this play was coming. This is something that they ran. This is something that the Bills ran quite a few times against Pittsburgh for first downs. They know Buffalo's, tendencies of liking to get Josh running the ball down in the red zone, the deep red zone, and it's almost like they guessed right on this one.
Yeah, no question about it. When I look at this with David Edwards, so they're in basically, what we would call a strong set on defense with the 3 technique on Torrance and a 4-eye on Dion. And then when that 4-eye slides down to Edwards, he should have already understood that Torrance has a 3 technique on him. So I don't know. And tell me what you think. Does Edwards think he has help coming from McGovern here?
No, I think that Edwards just overplayed it. I don't think he was expecting the slant across his face. And by looking at the rest of the defensive line, it looks like they had a slant maybe going on that side, or that defensive lineman guessed correctly. But, nobody else on that front is slanting except that guy that's on Edwards.
All right. Well, I guess my overall point, and I'm going to ask you flat out if you agree with me, if you get up to the line of scrimmage and you see the type of front that we have, and you're planning to run the ball with your quarterback into the teeth of the defense, which tends to work with Josh Allen, do you want to audible out of this? Is there something better that they can do rather than run into the defense?
Well, go back to the beginning. And if you really want to get down to brass tacks, they have they have enough to that side to block. They've got a 4-man surface, knowing the play and that it's a Josh Allen keeper. If Ty Johnson is an addition to the right side, they've got 4-on-4, but the way they block it, they don't really play it that way. There's going to be somebody unblocked because they're going to double team the guy that's on Torrance and Vandermark to the middle linebacker. Number 20, whatever it is, just covered up by the logo, is the guy that's going to be free. So yes, John, in your instance, I would audible this to either some sort of play action pass, or I would run zone to the weak side, because they do have a 4-man surface, but they don't block it forward. They block it back, so they really don't have enough guys.
Yeah, you're right. And the other option is you stay with it this way, but you've got to add Edwards. You got to have Dion cut it off and have McGovern and Edwards work that stack, and then you could either inside zone it and man up and kick out with Ty Johnson.
We'd have got blown up either way, John, because even if it was a power, Dion's not going to cut that guy off that's slanting. So really, any way you look at it, they're going to get boned on the play side. So they should audible out of that and go to the other way.
Which was my final question to you, and you answered it before I could ask it. It looks like a loser from pre-snap alignment, and that's what like, hey, this is not the right play. And similar to the Houston game when Josh comes off the sidelines, like, what are we doing here? That particular play against that defense just seems to be like a really crappy call. And hey, Joe Brady, I know that you're watching the show right now. Let's give Josh a little bit more latitude, a little bit more creativity, if that's in his persona, to go ahead and make those changes.
But honestly speaking, okay, if the play was blocked perfectly, which Edwards has to have some situational awareness, knowing that he doesn't have inside help, and knowing that there's a guy right outside of Dion, which would give you the thought process that guy's going to at least play hard inside, at least hard B gap, if not try to cross your face. You can't jump outside and square up with them. You got to have the situational awareness to play heavy inside to cut that off. So if everybody blocked this correctly and Edwards didn't get smoked off the snap, you're going to have one-on-one Josh Allen with the guy that's just covered up by the logo, because Ty Johnson is going to wall off that end man on the line of scrimmage, and you'll have Josh one-on-one with that guy. and then you're going to see what you're going to have to, see what happens there. Does Josh win that battle, or does that guy get him down for, a gain, but not a very big one?
Yeah, I think as I froze it right here, Jerry, with Ty Johnson heading to the support guy on the edge, the end man on the line of scrimmage, that collision is going to happen pretty quick. The only opportunity really here is for Josh to try to probably bounce this, because we still haven't accounted for the linebacker up top. He could scrape over into that hole. Just not loving the play. But listen, we don't come on here just to celebrate the success on the Off Tackle Show with John Fina, presented by Sahlen's. We get into the nitty gritty. We talk about why we're doing it. Why shouldn't we do it? Why should we do it? Overall, can't argue with the output, right? James Cook had over 80 yards rushing. Josh had a whole handful, and everybody got to eat. And you know what they get to eat, Jerry? Do you know what they get to eat?
Yes, I do. They get to eat the Anchor Bar.
That's right. You get to eat at the Anchor Bar. Tell them John Fina sent you. Go to the Anchor Bar, one of their 17 franchise locations. If you're not in Buffalo, New York, go to the Anchor Bar. Look at that little thing on the table right there. It tells you to go then back to the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network and watch this podcast. But if you love chicken wings, go check out the original. The Anchor Bar started in 1935 with Frank and Teresa Bellissimo. And in 1964, just 5 short years before my birth, they were like, hey, let's take what a lot of people throw away. Let's fry them up, cover them up in a delicious sauce, and serve people freaking chicken wings. Who would have thunk it? And guess what? You go to the Anchor Bar, not only are you going to get chicken wings, you're going to get their fantastic beef on weck. You're going to get wraps. You're going to get salads. You're going to get a whole host of great food. And look, they got 23 sauces and rubs to choose from. If you love that Anchor wing sauce, which I do, you can go to the Anchor Bar. You can buy it yourself. You can go online. You can buy it. You can have it shipped to you. Thank you, Anchor Bar, for being a presenting sponsor of the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network. Jerry, I always have such a great time wrapping up plays and things of that nature with you. Tell us a little bit about your process when you come back. And we do recommend that everybody who wants to love the Bills, who wants to understand football, get on that all 22. And Jerry's going to tell you the types of things that when he's watching film, he looks for.
Well, I think the big thing is, when you look at the sideline view, you're looking at your secondary, your receivers, and all those guys. What type of route concepts are they running? What type of coverage concepts are they running? And all those types of things. And then when you go to the tight view, which we see here on the Off Tackle Show, you're looking at those linemen. You're looking at how the defensive linemen fit shades, how they hold gaps, techniques. You're looking at blocking schemes, the way the offensive linemen step and fit, where their hand placement is, their hat placement, all those things. So you get real refined, on that end zone view with the linemen that you can't get when you have the sideline view. So those are the things I look for. And then, of course, after you watch it, you can go back through and watch it again, and then look for things like effort. Look for things like how are guys getting out of breaks, how are guys playing coverage, all those different things. And it's funny with the all 22 and now the NFL Pro, where you can actually go ahead and make your own cut-ups of different plays. You want to see what the Bills do. How everybody that clamors, all they do is run on first down. Well, go filter it. Buffalo Bills runs first down and see what you get. And you can see if what you're saying is right or what you're saying is wrong. So everything's right in front of you nowadays, and it's pretty awesome. And they even, give you the participants and the plays and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, it's the first thing you do on a Monday. You sit down in front of the computer with a good cup of coffee and start looking at things and seeing what they did the day before, and just, did my eyes trick me or were my eyes correct,
That's right. And it's so hard to digest any one play the first time you see it. I can't tell you how many times I run a play back 3 or 4 times just so, number one, I can understand the philosophy. Number two, what the defensive philosophy is against that play. And then number 3, well, where were the breakdowns or why did it succeed? And it's just a real fun way to watch football after the game if you love it. And sometimes, honestly, Jerry, I look at it like, we love Josh Allen, but he's not perfect. And I'm always coming from that perspective of like, how can the line do better? And then there's sometimes where, hey, Josh needs to do better, or the receivers need to do a little bit better here. So it's a lot of fun to review the film that way. We got a big game coming up. Jerry's going to break that down on 7 days to Sunday with Zig Fracassi. We're going to look at the freaking New England Patriots, who are on a roll. Can't stand them. But in addition to that, tomorrow night, you've got me on the beat, where I'm going to talk to one of Buffalo's best beat reporters and get their insights. You've got Anthony Marino on the walkthrough. That's usually Saturday before the game, 15-minute hit, what to look for, what's going on, what's the vibe. And if you're a betting man, come to Mafia Bets with Dan Freddy. He's killing it. Professional gambler, great insight, does all the research. If that's your thing, and it's not mine, I love the show. I don't lay the bet. I'm standing there, with FanDuel right there, and I don't do it. And if you're into that kind of thing, catch Dan Freddy on Mafia Bets. Jerry, this is the time when we always say a final thought from you.
No, I was real, obviously happy with the outcome. I thought that the Bills overcame quite a bit of stuff. They were able to figure out how to get off the field in the second half. Of course, the defense made huge plays in the second half. And then again, this offense did what they needed to do and put Josh Allen in positions where he could be Josh Allen. And
Awesome.
When that happens, good things happen. And, I expect a good one this week. I think New England did a very, very good job. Even though it was a tight ball game, we lost 23-20. I thought that New England did a very good job of playing Josh, especially in the scramble game. We'll see if Joe Brady and the offensive staff have some answers for that this week. It should be another good one. And like we always talk about, man, it's December. And Bills football is really good in December. And Josh Allen started December off with a bang yesterday. And I'd expect nothing but the same this coming week in New England.
And if Jerry's little synopsis of that Patriots game whets your appetite, you definitely need to check him out with Zig Fracassi on the 7 days to Sunday. I don't know why I always want to say 6. I think as a player, it's like the game's over and like, crap, I only have 6 days till the next one. 7 days to Sunday with Jerry talking about Bills Patriots game. Should be it could be a seminal moment in the season. But I'm going to get us out of here. And so for me, for Jerry, for Zig, for Ant, for Dan Freddy, for everybody out there in Bills Mafia, thanks so much for tuning in to the Sahlen's Off Tackle Show with John Fina. And today, tomorrow, and always, go Bills.
And for our big toe, Joe Miller, as well. Much love. Go Bills.